Yeah. A little early for Black Monday, but Black Monday has now started. Dennis Allen has been blown out as the coach of the New Orleans Saints. You know, back in August when we did our NFL preview, John Riley asked me the question, who's on the endangered list? Oh, John, I told John, I think Dennis Allen is. Yeah, and they were 2-0 out of the gate, and they've lost 7 in a row, haven't been competitive. And this guy, I'm not sure this guy was ever qualified. That's the thing that blows my mind. He was 8-28 as a Raiders head coach, and New Orleans hires him.
Yeah.
Well, what did you expect? I think his composite record as a head coach now in the NFL is 28-53. So anyhow, Dennis Allen is gone. They've had just a plethora of injuries. Derek Carr, Kamara, Chris Olave has suffered another concussion, which is his 5th concussion now in his career. I think this could be career-threatening. Michael Thomas never recovered from injuries. He's out of the NFL. Their offensive line's been a mess. But I just don't think Dennis Allen was ever the right fit there. Raiders, he still has a job. He being the head coach, Antonio Pierce. He fired 3 assistant coaches this morning. Fired his offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, who didn't even survive his first year. He fired the quarterback coach. He fired the offensive line coach.
Wow.
Now, this head coach, Antonio Pierce, lays it at the doorstep of the assistant coaches. A week ago, he was berating his players. It's never, ever his fault. I tell you what, don't send your laundry out because he might get fired at the end of the season. They are now 2-7 on the season. And it's really tough to change coordinators in midseason. The storyline that I hear from the NFL guys that I was with this morning on email exchange, they're going to promote Scott Turner to be their play caller and offensive coordinator in place of Luke Getsy. Getsy had been hired from the Bears. He'd been fired from the Bears just last year. They're hiring Scott Turner. I think they're bringing legendary coach Norv Turner in, former head coach, as a consultant to work with his son, Scott Turner, to try to fix the Raiders offense.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, of course, Norv lives here in Rancho Santa Fe. He was a head coach of the Raiders. He spent 15 years as a head coach in the NFL, whether it was Washington Raiders or the San Diego Chargers. Some success, a lot of non-success along the way, but bright light, tremendous mind offensively. But they don't have a quarterback. Gardner Minshew, you can't fix Gardner Minshew and the turnover problems. And they just got Desmond Ridder from the Atlanta Falcons, a former decent draft pick who manages games. I don't know if he's got the physical talents to win a lot of games. You know, they traded Devontae Adams. They don't have Josh Jacobs. They just the offensive line isn't doing a very good job. Defense is chewed up by a lot of injuries. There are problems every place. Like I say, Sofer and Bleak. So you got an opinion on the coaching situation in New Orleans and obviously what's happened with the Raiders? Feel free to jump on board. And John Riley has this to say about the coaches.
Well, yeah, a little bit. Because, I think about New Orleans, and yet since Derek Carr hasn't been there, they've been starting Spencer Rattler. I remember he was at Oklahoma,
South Carolina,
and then South Carolina. And he was one of those profiled quarterbacks, when he was really young, like in high school. They did a Netflix series, I think, and he was one of the profile guys. So it's cool to see him there, but he is so overmatched. And that just looked like it was so difficult for the Saints to really move the ball at all.
Well, they were so conservative because they didn't want him to make mistakes. They said, you're trying to win freaking games. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So then they benched him and they put Jake Haener, the Fresno State second-year quarterback, in. And we both like Haener from his days in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah.
And he went up and down the field. And he wasn't intimidated and he wasn't making mistakes. But he's really undersized. He looks really small. So
especially in the NFL. Yeah. And then as far as the Raiders go, I think Antonio Pierce is probably thinking he's on the edge of a cliff and he needs to fire people just to show that he's trying to be proactive. But if you're like let's say you're Max Crosby, and you're on the defensive side of the ball and you're just going, what the hell is going on in there? It must just be a shit show in that locker room.
And the other thing is he hired all these guys last year. These are Antonio Pierce hirings and you're firing them and blaming them for the first 9 games of the season.
Yeah, that's not right.
On you.
Yeah.
On you. Okay, we go from NFL football